Good morning, lovely people. How are you all today? I hope you're well. I hope you're fine and dandy, even in the depths of winter. Oh, it's so chilly at the moment, isn't it? But never mind that. So I thought today I would just make a quick little video. I hope it's going to be quick without too much waffling. Continuing along the lines of the thoughts of when I did a video a couple of weeks ago about some of my bathroom swaps. Today I'm going to talk about some of my desk swaps, or in the study swaps if you like. What do you call it? Your study, your desk? Do you have a dedicated area where you do your kind of admin-y stuff? Perhaps it's the kitchen table. Perhaps it's the corner of the living room on a little rickety table. Perhaps you ignore all that stuff and stuff the bills to the back of the bureau and don't bother. Whatever it is, whatever area you do it in, we all have to do some stuff in terms of whether it's correspondence, bill paying, what have you. So, over the years, I've made a few swaps. They're just really, really little things that anyone can do, but they're all things which can just help reduce some of our waste. Waste in general, but specifically plastic. Well, actually not specifically plastic, but plastic's a more problem waste, if you get what I mean. If we're throwing away paper, at least we can compost it, and at least we can plant another tree. When we throw away plastic, yeesh, well, okay, enough on that. I've got a few props. As soon as I start speaking, I start to cough. Excuse me a second. That's the universe trying to tell me to shut up before I've even started. So I've got a few props today. My neighbour's great. I go knock on their door and say, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? And I love having a prop. So, let us begin. I've made a few notes because I don't want to forget things, so excuse me if I look down from time to time. First things first, paper. So from time to time we all need to print something or other from our computer. We need to print it out from our printer. So it kind of goes without saying that we should be using recycled paper these days. It's dead easy to get hold of. I think pretty much all office supply, stationery supply shops these days do a recycled paper of some sort. So there's your first starting point. If you're still using virgin paper for your printer, make the switch to recycled. The quality these days is fantastic. You won't notice the difference. Yay! And when it comes to ink in your printer, there's kind of two routes you can go. There are kits these days where you get sort of almost like a syringe set and little bottles of ink, so you can refill your own ink cartridges. Brilliant. If you can't do that, if you can't get access to them and you have to throw your ink cartridges away and buy new ones, pretty much every charity under the sun these days will take your old ink cartridges off your hands and recycle them. I just sounded like the Queen there, didn't I? Off your hands. They'll take it off your hands. So yeah, don't ever chuck an empty ink cartridge in the bin. I should have done a little vocal warm-up. Don't chuck your ink cartridges away. Loads of charities accept them. And you know, if in doubt, just get on the computer, Google, have a look, and they should send you a little sort of prepaid envelope so you can send off your used ink cartridges. So around our kind of printing, we can reduce our waste. On the subject of computers and printing things out and using paper, I have this massive dilemma about the whole thing because I'm a bit old school. I'm quite old fashioned. I like using paper. I find it easy to read things on paper than on the screen, what have you. And in an ideal world, I would do without the computer. I would rather use an old-fashioned typewriter, a metal typewriter, because with paper, you know, if push comes to shove, we can plant more trees. We can get more trees growing and we can use them for their pulp to make paper. But our computers, we can't plant more plastic trees to make our computers, can we? Having said that, I wouldn't have a business if I didn't have a computer. So it's one of those things, isn't it? If you've got a computer, if you're using your computer, use it to help reduce your use of paper at all in the first place. But if you're using paper, use recycled. Okay, so that's our computery side of things dealt with. Now we're sitting down at our writing table and we're going to get ready to do some bills, we're making some notes, we're doing our diaries, whatever it is. It goes without saying, and I'm sure all of you do it too, I never buy notebooks. These are what my lists get written on. Every time I get an envelope through the door, for whatever it is, usually a bill, I cut it up and I use it for scrap paper for making my notes on. I make my notes on one side. When those notes have all been done, make a note on the other side. And at the end of the day, ultimately, when I can't use it for making any more notes, I will shred it, rip it up, whatever it is, either in the compost bin or the recycling bin. So never buy another notebook again. Even junk mail, even parts of junk mail. I get all these letters all the time offering me a credit card. They don't get it, do they? Don't realise they're barking up the wrong tree with me. I don't want a credit card. I don't need a credit card. I don't do credit. I save up and then buy what I need to buy. But quite often these letters that come, "Dear Miss Gregory, you would qualify for a 0% blah blah blah." Turn it over, quite often there's nothing on the back, so I'll cut that little letter up too and use it as notepaper. So yeah, never buy another notebook again. Now, writing implements, and this is where you can make a big difference. Excuse me, another glug. I still have and use quite a few bog standard biros. The reason I have so many of these still is because I've done a big bulk buy because it's cheaper. I think about maybe 4 or 5 months before I left my job. So in nursing, we have to use a biro. So I do still have some. I've yet to think of any uses for them once they're gone. I'm sure you guys will come up with some ideas. But for my own personal use, and I use this personally because I couldn't use it at work, my preference is an ink pen. Good old-fashioned ink pen, or what you might call a fountain pen. Actually, it is like a fountain sometimes when it splurts ink out if I haven't used it for a while. But basically, this pen it's all metal. So I'm just going to take it apart and show you. Hang on, I need to screw my bottom on. My bottom's falling off. My bottom's falling off. Right, so lid and body of the pen, all metal. This little section here, yes, that is plastic, but I'm not going to be throwing it away anytime soon. The nib, of course, is metal. Now, the thing with ink pens, if you're going to buy one for the first time, make sure you get one with a bladder. So, I'm going to just show you now. When you take, I'm going to take the end of the body off. This little bit in here, this is called the bladder. So this is where I'm going to show you actually how I refill it now. This is the section that will hold the ink. So in the old days, there used to be, I've still got my fountain pen from junior school because we had the most amazing headmaster at junior school. So that's the school you go to from 4 to 11. And he was a firm believer in developing handwriting, using a proper pen. We used to have individual one-to-one lessons with him in calligraphy. Brilliant. Mr. Holmes, God love you. So I still have my pen from those days, but it's gone a little bit iffy, because what they used to have would be sort of a metal piece up and over here, and then in the middle a sort of a plastic bladder, and you would squeeze, you would pinch the two pieces together to create the vacuum, put your pen in the pot, release it, and that would suck the ink up. Mine's now a screw system. Quite a few ink pens these days though, or not these days, any days, what you'll find is they use disposable ink cartridges. So you see little packets of 4 or 5 in a packet of ink cartridges that you shove into your pen, use it till they're done, but it's a great chunk of plastic still that you have to throw away. So I always buy my ink, trying to do this single-handed, I always buy my ink, just bought some new replacement because my old one's finished. I buy mine in a glass bottle. So there we go, glass bottle, yes, it's a plastic lid, can't do much about that. I'll tell you about the bottle in a second. And it's packaged in a cardboard box. Rip it up, chuck it in the compost or in the recycling outside your house. And then literally it just, the nib goes in, I unscrew it, that sucks the ink up, put it back together, ready for my next use. It's empty at the moment because I did have some, for some reason I had a little bit of leftover blue ink in that, and I can't stand blue ink. I just don't like blue ink, I don't know why. So you can see some of it's just gone on my finger from the nib. So I was giving it a wash out yesterday before I refill it with some nice black ink. I love these ink pots, these jars of ink, because once this ink is used up, wash that jar out and it's such a lovely, pretty, unusual shape. It's great for storing small stuff, like you could store seeds in it, you could put herbs in it in your kitchen, I could put some balm into there and that'd be a nice little, like, keep it in my handbag, little stash of balm, great. So between them, I'm going to try and show you all now, the packaging, the jar of ink and the pen itself, in terms of throwaway stuff that's not throwaway compost or recyclable, we've got the lid of the pot, and eventually when this pen dies, just that little section between the nib and the bladder and that little bit of the bladder. Saying that, I've had this pen for about, how old am I? I've had that for about 30 plus years. Yeah, when I did my art degree all those years ago, when did I graduate? 1988. When I did my art degree, I wrote my whole dissertation with this pen. It's my lucky pen. So yeah, let's not do this anymore. Let's do this, yay. But also, just for in and around the home, what better than a pencil? You know, what could be more simple? So I like to get sort of unpainted ones where I can, and then as I sharpen them, the waste goes in the compost heap. Brilliant. So yeah, easy to move away from plastic when it comes to writing implements. Now, here's another of my big bugbears. This is one of my props I've borrowed. Everybody recognises this. The highlighter pen. Anybody who's been a student will recognise it. Anyone who works in an office will recognise it. That is a great, chunky, nasty chunk of plastic, isn't it? Here's an idea instead. Yes, a bit of watercolour. Now, I know that sounds crazy, mad, daft. The thing about watercolour is it dries very quickly. So if you're doing your diary, because I'm sure that's what a lot of people are going to think, I can just do that really quickly, turn the page. If you're at your desk studying or doing your diary, planning your diary out, get your watercolours out, look like a cup full of water, dip it, quick line across the words or the date or the time you need to remember or whatever it is you're highlighting, you're done. It's dry in 2 seconds. And the great thing about these cake watercolours is hopefully you may not have a shop really near you, you may have to go on the hunt for it, but I've got a couple of places that I can go to where literally the replacement cakes, so as you can see which colours I use most. So for instance, white always goes really quickly. You can see in there, all I will do is buy a cake of white paint loose. It won't have any wrappings, it won't have anything with it. I'll just buy literally a little cake of white paint. When this one's completely empty, slot the new cake in, done. No packaging, no waste. Look at the difference. This will last for years and years and years with zero packaging, zero waste pretty much. This, how long will it last? A couple of months, and then it's going into landfill. Landfill is the best we can hope for it. The worst is that it gets into the countryside somewhere. Okay, so you've written your notes on your scraps of paper with your nice ink pen. You've highlighted the dates in your calendar with a bit of watercolour. Now this is one of my other favourite things to use. What's in it? Okay, so as usual, this is a recycled pot. Don't chuck any tins or pots away ever, because it's always a use for them. This is what I keep my, it's going to tip out, it's my paper clips, simple as that. So I use paper clips all the time over staples. Why would you use a staple? Now, I know there's going to be some circumstances you might have to, but you know, if you're just at home, ordinary person, you've got to send 3 or 4 sheets of something to someone, do it with a paper clip. We can use them over and over and over again. Staples, they get pulled out, they get chucked away. What goes into all the energy that goes into the process of manufacturing a staple for it to then be thrown away or in a filing cabinet for years and years. If you can basically avoid using staples and go to paper clips, give it a go. Dead easy. So I just wanted to talk about, obviously, having my little shop now. I'm trying to get that greener and greener and greener as I go. So to start with, these are my little labels that go out with all my purchases. The whole thing composts, if you want to make it into compost. I know quite a few folk are using them as bookmarks. The ink stamp, vegetable ink, it's getting so much easier these days to find really good vegetable inks. So if you need ink for something, an ink pad, do check to see if you can get a vegetable ink, especially if you can get a vegetable ink that's encased in a little metal container rather than a plastic container. Yay! So with regards to the rest of the packaging, in terms of boxes, they're all recycled. When I can't use boxes and I'm using paper, the paper is all initially recycled and can be recycled. To start with, I did have a big stock of smallish plastic envelopes that I was sending out the bunting in. It was a bit of a stupid purchase from my part, but I did a bulk buy. I managed to get them for a decent price, but they've come to an end now. Yay! And I finally managed to find a really good, strong paper gusseted envelope. So from now on, all the bunting can go out in a paper bag. Yay! The last thing I need to do is, I'm just getting through the last of my tape, my packaging tape, but I have now found a company that does a non-plastic based packaging tape, so I will be swapping to that soon too. Brilliant. As far as things like the packaging inside, I use recycled newspapers where I can. So that's generally in the UK because paper weighs quite heavy. So if I'm posting overseas, that paper gets to be so heavy that I actually can't send the package via the Royal Mail. It's a no-go. So I do use bubble wrap, and here's the fantastic thing, I'm managing to get, I would say, I would say at the moment I'm managing to get about 90%, if not more, of my bubble wrap from recycled sources. You know what I was saying about Facebook groups and hunting your neighbourhood? Put the call out, you will get stuff. So it's definitely worth it if you're having to package things and send them all over the place. Think about there are other options than plastic, or if you're having to use plastics, find them secondhand, as it were, get them sent, and then encourage your recipient to recycle them again and again and or not recycle, but to reuse them. Yay! So I'm hoping that within the next couple of months or so, that all my packaging will be either compostable or it's all from recycled sources. I'm nearly there. I can do better, and I will do better. I mean, that's the point with all of this stuff, I guess, isn't it? Is that I think I was saying this when I was doing the bathroom stuff video, is that change can be a bit daunting. It can be a bit time consuming because one has to spend time to search out other suppliers of whatever you've been used to. It's definitely getting easier now to find suppliers, to find other like-minded people who will sell you their wonderful products, which are recyclable, compostable, whatever it is. But, you know, just, I suppose one of my reasons for doing these vids is just to say, it's just that mindfulness, is to think about what we're using, and more than think about what we're using, think about what we're throwing away. I know that loads of you will repurpose things over and over again. And if you really can't repurpose them, you'll put them in for the recycling, or you'll compost, or what have you. But all of us, at the end of the day, will end up with a bag of rubbish which is destined for landfill. One of my challenges that I set myself, oh gosh, when did I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 years ago, when I was deciding that I wanted to try and live plastic free completely, which, as we know, I didn't manage. Nigh on impossible, camera, computer, what have you. But one of my targets was to only put out rubbish for the dustbin man, as in landfill, once a month. And I've pretty much stuck with that. Some months I do better than others. But generally speaking, at the end of each month, I have maybe less than a carrier bag full, even though I don't use carrier bags. Do you remember when I made my origami bins from paper? So that for me is about a month of what I throw away that's got to go to landfill. So I think what might be a fun challenge for any of you out there, if you're up for it, is, I'll do it too this week. Why not? Why don't we see if we can have just 1 week where we put absolutely nothing in the landfill rubbish bin. Now, you're not allowed to cheat. You're not allowed to stash it somewhere else and after a week bring it out and put it in the bin. So as you're out and about this week doing your shopping for your groceries and your toiletries and your bits and bobs, just think, I'm on a challenge this week. I can't put anything in the bin. So if this stuff is made from things that need to go in the bin, I'm going to have to pass it up and look for something else. I love a little challenge. So there we go, a few little simple swaps at the desk. All of this is dead easy to do in the blink of an eye, without even having to think about it much, without having to go too far from your own doorstep to make the swaps. I sincerely hope that a lot of you are doing these things already, but I really hope that's given you a couple of ideas of, oh, I could do that. Yeah, thanks, Vivi, I could do that. So go on. Give it a go and have a go this week, not putting any rubbish out. I dare you. I double dog dare you. All right, my lovelies, I'm going to say cheerio to you all for now. I've got some letters to write. I need to fill up my ink pen. I will see you all again really soon, I hope. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves. Stay well. Have fun making your swaps. And just in general, in life, have fun. See you soon.